you and I both saw Animal Farm. This film has been, I read the book in school, and I don't know if they still read Animal Farm in school.
My daughter read it freshman year.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah.
They're still teaching it. I mean, I went to school so long ago. I used to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, back in that day, but read the book, found it fascinating. It's a funny animal story, but it's very dark. There have been other versions of Animal Farm made. In fact, you can find the original animated Animal Farm on YouTube, along with there was a live action version. I'm sure you heard of, Alan. But tell me,
not much.
Yes, but tell me about this incarnation from Angel Studios with the voice acting of Seth Rogen,
Woody Harrelson, Kieran Culkin, Laverne Cox, Glenn Close, Steve Buscemi, Andy Serkis, Jim Parsons, Kathleen Turner, Aman Vellani is in it as well.
Yeah, but tell me about this incarnation.
Okay, so what's happening is we are at Manor Farm, and movie starts with all the animals being herded into a truck, and they're going to go to the Laughter House. And what happened is the farmer, he fell behind on his payments, and now the bank has taken over the farm, and they're going to liquidate the stock, the livestock. One of the pigs, it is, I forget the name of the pig. It is not Puff, but Snowball, no, Lucky. Okay, so one of the pigs, Lucky, realizes he can read, realizes they're not going to the Laughter House, they're going to the slaughterhouse. And as a result, the animals revolt and escape, and they run off. But as the bank leaves and as the dust settles, the animals decide, hey, we're going to run this farm. In fact, we're going to run it in a great way. We are going to run it as equals. All the animals on this farm are going to be equals. Everything we raise is going to be shared amongst everyone. We're going to set these rules. And they're fairly simple rules. Don't trust humans. Don't try to be like a human. Everything's equal. But if you don't follow these rules, there's serious consequences. You're going to get cast out of the farm. So the farm goes on. It's kind of working, but it's not. Some of the animals are lazy. Some of them are hard workers. And one of the animals, Snowball, says, hey, humans use electricity. I found these blueprints for a water wheel. And she gets Snowball gets Lucky to help her build a water wheel. But soon the evil pig Napoleon sees it, says, no, this wasn't approved by the collective. And but Snowball says, no, we need this. And they decide, nope, we're not going to do it. In fact, Snowball, you're a troublemaker, and they cast her out, never to be seen of again. And then what begins happening is, although these animals are equal, they begin separating by pigs, by sheep, by goats, by whatever. And soon the pigs start taking over. And the pigs start basically running the show. And if you're familiar with the themes of George Orwell, this is showing us how socialism turns into totalitarianism. And that's kind of what happens here.
And not just that, you see the evolution of Napoleon's character, Seth Rogen, which I miss the days when they hired voice actors.
Yeah.
Voice actors, real people who
like
do
Jim Cummings.
Just get a real voice actor. A celebrity, it's a different set of skills. You have a star-studded cast. This movie did not need that. It would have benefited from real voice actors. I can't get over the Seth Rogen voice as Napoleon. But the funny thing is, animals can't wear clothes, and it's better if you're on 4 feet, but they change it to 2 feet. Napoleon starts standing on 2 feet, and he starts wearing clothes like a human. He becomes an elite.
Yeah,
so,
he becomes the thing they despised.
Yeah, and while this movie, I won't say it's a happy ending, but it's not a dark ending like the original story. They tried to sort of pin a happy ending on it. I cannot imagine taking a kid to this movie. They would be horrified at some of the things that happen. in this film. The horse character played by Woody Harrelson ends up going to the glue farm.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of bad. I mean,
There's a lot
look,
of sad stuff in this
this
movie.
movie's bad for different reasons, I think, than people are criticizing. The politics is similar in spirit. You see the evil pigs take over and become, totalitarian in their pursuit of making a utopian society. It's bad for just bad jokes. They make a joke about glue and the horse. There's even a joke where Napoleon farts at the beginning of the movie. It says, when they have this revolution and all the animals take over the man-or farm, right?
Mhm.
And Napoleon farts and says, "That's the sound of freedom," in a nod to one of Angel Studios' other movies. They're trying to make this tale whimsical and fun for kids, which is kind of subversive in its own right, but it does not work. It didn't work for me and made me seek out the other Animal Farm films. It's a very mature story, the original story, the book, and then the older animated classic. And there was a live action a few decades ago. But I was not. I don't. I'm unconvinced. I think this just made me want to see the older films. Alan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I did come in with a bias just because I've been hearing stories that it's anti-capitalist and it's it falls off Orwell's themes and stuff like that, and so I came in very, very skeptical, and I think I walked away realizing no, it really did. It held to it didn't really go deep into Orwell, but it held at least the idea and the concepts of what Orwell was bringing in to Animal Farm. But does that make a good movie? I think the reason I like the movie is because of the things it presented. But it's kind of like it. I think to your point, it fought between wanting to be a family film and a dark film. And when
Yeah.
you are fighting that, you get a mediocre film. And that's what this is. This is a very mediocre film, but at least it says something. It says something about progressiveness. It says something about communism. Look, Orwell was a democratic socialist and he died a democratic socialist. But even he knew the dangers of what happens if his party becomes a totalitarian party. And that's what Animal Farm was about. I'll direct you to a movie that I saw at Sundance, the last Sundance I went to, which was before the pandemic. It was called Mr. Jones. And Mr. Jones is the story of a reporter who goes into Russia to investigate the Russian famine and realizes that it was basically, communism at its worst, where the political elites were living high on the hog while the people were starving to death, providing food for the elites. And this journalist, Mr. Jones, goes through. He basically gets sucked up in being one of the peasants and almost dies in the experience because he's every time he tried to speak up for himself, he was threatened with death. And at the end of the movie, he meets up with George Orwell. They discuss his experiences, and that was the impetus for Animal Farm.
Oh wow.
So at least. I disagree with the people who think that this is not Orwell. It's Orwell light. It's Orwell for kids.
Orwell with fart jokes.
Yeah. But it is definitely a mediocre movie. So I think I lean on the bear recommendation side of this versus you. I think you kind of go the other way.
No, I would say it's a not recommend for me for the sort of the tone that doesn't quite make sense. And I don't mind try to make a movie more adult in themes for children. Kids are smart.
Yeah,
I saw the movie. I'd recommend a movie that I've loved since I was a kid, appreciate more as an adult, which is Watership Down. That film is phenomenal about rabbits on the run from man and both other warrens of evil rabbits. That film is fantastic. Great voice acting as well from the cast, and takes itself seriously. this couldn't get the tone right one way or the
Mhm.
other. It was like, so are you fart joke, glue jokes about horses, goofy? Certainly it feels goofy from the cast. I don't
Mhm.
think they needed this cast. And I would implore other, other companies that are doing animated features like this, hire actors, voice actors. Let's bring voice actors back. And we don't need celebrity actors. It's not Seth Rogen is not a draw for this. So I can't recommend it. But Alan, a bear
I
recommend.
beg or recommend. I think, like I said, if I'm interested in stories that make me think, and I think this one at least pulls out the Orwell concepts.